Welcome to Livestream. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz. Today is September 1. Yesterday, August 31st, was the day for Women of Value Africa, a virtual event supported by the African Tourism Board. One of the speakers was Annie Sugrue. She is the director at ESCO SASA Developments and an established leader in the sustainable development, climate change, SMME development, cooperatives, urban regeneration, sustainable agriculture, and renewable energy sector. And she spoke about her approach and the role of women in Africa in this sustainable tourism world during the COVID-19 crisis. Enjoy the podcast.
To take our event forward, I would love to call on our next speaker, Ms. Annie Sugrue. She is the ADSC GESI WEE expert. She has worked on equity and justice issues for almost 30 years. She worked in the NGO sector from 1992 and has held senior management roles in both national and international organizations, working with cooperative, small businesses, and with smallholder farmers. Her work has had a strong focus on sustainable development as it interlinks with poverty, recognizing that justice will not be achieved without sustainable livelihoods. She is currently working with the EU Ecosystem Development for Small Enterprise Program, the EU-funded Ecosystem Development for Small Enterprise Program within the DSBO on the Gender and Social Inclusion Project to support women economic empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me, Ms. Annie Sugrue, to talk on the EU's Ecosystem Development for Small Enterprise Program on women economic empowerment. Ms. Annie.
Oh, thank you very much for that introduction. I hope you can all hear me properly. Greetings and special greetings to the Honourable Minister for Tourism, Mameloko Kubayo Ngubane, Her Excellency, the US Ambassador to South Africa, Dr. Lana Marks, the WOVSA Committee Chairperson, Mr. Makatso Malwela, and the WOVA Chairperson, Ms. Angela Martha Diamanti, the ATB Ambassador, Ms. Abigail Olugobayo, and the ATB Chairperson, Mr. Cuthbert Nkuba, and other speakers, the listeners, the participants. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation so far. They have set the scene for what I'm going to tell you about, which is an EU-funded program with which I am working. It's a very large program. It's a 52 million euro program, of which 14 million is for technical assistance, and the rest is for what they call budgetary support to assist the Department of Small Business Development and its partner organizations to implement a number of interventions that will improve the ecosystem for small businesses. And I think it's, even though it is not focused on tourism specifically, I think it's very relevant for this talk today, as it's focused on the ecosystem in which tourism operates. Are you able to see my presentation on the screen? Is everyone able to see that?
No, it's not appearing.
Is there something I should be doing?
Ma'am, what I will do, I have to make you a co-host. Then you can do this. Without a co-host, you won't be. Let me make you a co-host. You're now a co-host. You can share it. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm trying to do that, but somehow it seems to have removed my ability to get onto my Zoom thing to, let me just see if I can do this. To co-host, are you able to share my screen for me?
Let me see if I can do this.
Just
It
see if
it wouldn't let me do it, but you should be able to do it. There is a next to participant chat. There is a share screen button on the
come
bottom.
up now. It has come up now. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Yeah.
Here.
Thank you.
So I think it's this one, is it?
There we go.
Yes. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Right, so this is an EU-funded program. I'm going to take you very quickly through it. I don't want to labor all the points. I'm hoping that Democrazio will be able to share it with you later. And so I will briefly give you an explanation of what it's about. Its key objectives are to improve the competitiveness of SMMEs, improve their access to finance, and improve the regulatory and administrative environment. And this is largely because ecosystem findings across 6 domains show that small businesses are seriously impacted by lack of access to finance, increasing levels of informality, red tape. The BDS support, business development support, is fragmented. It isn't coordinated. There are low levels of business skills. There is generally a weak entrepreneurial environment. Now, of course, these things affect women as much as they do the general ecosystem, and I will go into that a little bit more in detail later. So the key activities are to work with the Department of Small Business Development on policy, and if I can highlight 2 areas in this particular slide. The one area is the harmonization of SMME policies, and this is largely around about the development of a master planning process which will help all sectors, including the Ministry for Tourism, to be able to develop policies that will be that will support their work with small businesses. And the other one is to enable evidence-based policy making through data collection, which is particularly weak. We have to improve that. Under CEDA, CEDA, of course, is a small enterprise development agency that operates very closely with the Department of Small Business Development, and it has a number of different business development support services through digital services and portals and various other activities that small businesses can access. And then there is CIFA with their main activity is to provide access to finance, and the EDSE program is working very closely with them to improve the modalities in the way in which finance can be accessed. It's a very complicated slide. I just want to highlight 2 things here, which is that this work is across the green economy, it's across the township and rural economies, it's working with a number of different value chains and sectors. It's not limited only to 1 or 2 sectors. So now I come to the work that I'm doing, which is with the Gender and Social Inclusion Project, or what we call GESI. And the WE is the Women Economic Empowerment activity. And many of you have talked about some of the issues that arise as a result of the fact that most policy programs and support are generally unintentionally gender blind. The EU recognizes that gender and social inclusion is critical to making sure that any program on small enterprise development is successful. As you've all pointed out, 50% of our population are women. But more importantly than that, there are some interesting statistics, which are that 72% of all micro enterprises are women, whereas are run by women, whereas only 40% are small enterprises, and then only 20% are medium-sized. So women dominate the micro enterprise sector, where you see startups, where you see it being informal, where you see that women are not registered and therefore not able to access services. They're also, women entrepreneurs are also underrepresented in support programs. In other words, you don't really find them to the same extent as men. And in many cases, women note that the type of services that are provided for them are inappropriate for a number of reasons. They're at the wrong times, they don't take cognizance of their own business needs, they don't actually give them the kind of support they need, which is more of a business networking, mentoring support, which differs to the support that male-owned businesses need. Women entrepreneurs are also less likely than male-owned businesses to access finance. In fact, there was an IFC report a couple of years ago that said that only 16% of all the loans were granted to women. And we also have the particular difficulty that data is disaggregated, but it's often not that useful. We need to know at a far more granular and nuanced level what are the successes and what are the failures in the services we're providing, the kind of businesses that women are running, what kind of problems they have, and this sort of information is generally not available. And it's these things that the EDSC program is working on trying to improve the disaggregated data collection, to apply a gender lens to policies and strategies, to ensure that they do address the issues that women are facing and remove that gender blindness that we find. Design interventions that have gender positive impacts. For instance, the EDSC is working with the She Trade program with the DSBD, which is run through the ITC, which will help 3 million women entrepreneurs connect by 2021. And it's a regional integration program, so I think it's particularly appropriate for what we're talking about today. It will create those market linkages across a whole range of different value chains. But it's also important that we derive lessons from those programs that have empowered women, that have supported women, that have seen the micro, unregistered, informal businesses grow, that we support them to become registered so that they can become smaller enterprises and medium-sized enterprises rather than remaining in the micro sector. And there's a number of different programs that the DSBD, the Department of Small Business Development, is supporting, largely through CIFA with its microfinance, its finance institution. And some of these are women dominated. The Spaza Shop support program, which facilitates cash flow and credit guarantee, it's 170 million rand. The Clothing and Textile Support Program, which provides skills and machinery for 105 million rand. Bakeries and Confectionery Support Program, it's a working capital investment program of 100 million rand. You could argue that the automotive aftermarket support program is not women dominated, but the EDSC is working with a number of different people to try and change that. And provide a credit guarantee scheme for 225 million rand. There is a hairdresser scheme, for instance, that is being planned. It's on hold at the moment. So there are a number of different initiatives. Most of these where EDSC is providing support are being done through what is called, and I mentioned it earlier, the budgetary support program, where the EU is providing 38 million euros directly to government through the National Treasury to support these kind of initiatives, so that there's a joint development and design of the program from all the different partners. And I think that's probably one of the most interesting ones for any of the South African participants here today. So thank you very much. I hope that that's given you some bit of a taste for what the EU is funding through our program. And I hope that Dimakatsu will give you the presentation and that you will feel free to contact us if you want more information.
Thank you so much, Ms. Annie, for your perspectives and for the wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. We'll definitely share the paper presentation with all our participants.
Thank you very much for listening to the podcast today from livestream.travel, and hope we see you again next time. Aloha from Hawaii and mahalo.